Hi everybody, welcome to Gehu Talkies, the official podcast channel of Graphic Era Hill University, brought to you by the Department of Media and Mass Communication. I am Methili Rana, your host for today. And in this episode of Know Your Faculty, let us now meet an intellectual personality who has the answers to most of your questions and who is a living example of the fact that knowledge begins with curiosity. Let us now welcome Assistant Professor, Graphic Era Hill University, Girija Shankar Semuwal. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
How are you feeling in our podcast today?
Oh, I'm feeling very comfortable and also happy and pleased to be in conversation with you.
Sir, as you have been teaching students here since quite a long time,
Mhm.
what has been your overall experience regarding education?
I think education, everybody understands the importance of it, and that is the most delightful thing, the most delightful fact that everybody does understand the importance of education. Everybody's way of engaging with the educational setup that we have in universities and colleges may be slightly different, but everybody does understand the importance of education, which is why we have. I can give many examples, but one example is we have students who got placed right after their undergrad degree, and they worked for a few years, and then they decided to come back and complete or pursue their master's degree, and some even pursue further higher education. So I think that's to begin with the experience with students.
Sir, first thing that is the most intriguing
Mm.
is that you are the gold medalist
Mm-hmm.
in your masters,
Yes.
and it was from Doon University.
Yes.
10 years of academic experience and
Yes.
7 years of full time teaching.
Yes.
So, sir, over all of these years,
Mm.
except for the experience of education that you shared and your
Yes.
perception about it, what it is in connection with students?
Right. So you see, there are once again, there are many different approaches that one can take when it comes to students and education. But I have always considered students as citizens, as future professionals, as scholars, primarily as scholars. So there are some dimensions, certain aspects of the roles of students that they may not be very aware of, that they are actually participating in a democratic setup, they are contributing to knowledge in the society, they are creating something, they are creative individuals. So although I don't mean to bind them to these specific roles, but just if they could be more aware about their privilege and their disposition, that is a major interest that I have, and it is always a part of my whenever I interact with them, my conversations with them. This is always there. I try to make them aware of the different roles that they play, which they are conscious of at some level, but we try to bring it out a little bit more, and that leads to student development, that leads to personality development, that leads to scholastic development. I can give it any term, but definitely we are in university, we are in the business of making individuals, empower them, they come out shining. That's one of the simpler ways to put it, but it's uh, the cause of education is actually bigger than the way, the actual, what we see, the setup that we see on the ground. The cause of education is much bigger than that, and it fills us all with light and laughter. And so that is I'm trying to bridge many perspectives here. So it may seem that I'm trying to idealize education, but education is commonplace. Every student, every individual is forever learning lifelong. So that is the awareness that I try to bring to students. Not that it is always required, but yeah, we do our part of the role, I would say.
Indeed, I have observed you trying your best to
Yeah.
make students aware
Yes.
about different aspects in education.
Yes.
Now, that also brings me to your specialization.
Mm-hmm.
You did not always study communication. Earlier,
Absolutely.
you were in the IT sector.
Yes. Yes.
So, how did this major shift come in your life?
Right. So, the compartmentalization and the divisions between disciplines and fields of study, this is, I would say, a very old tradition which still persists. But unfortunately, if we evaluate reality as a whole, if we evaluate our sectors of commerce and we evaluate even in personal life, we are always drawing so much knowledge from different fields. So I firmly believe in a liberal education environment where students are, although concentrating most of their studies in one discipline, but at the same time they are keen to learn and know about other disciplines. And we don't want to just tie this choice to the fact that if something is market friendly, you go and do that. No, it is tied to human development. You cannot separate art and science. It is, you can separate them in your analysis and in your academic pursuit of something, but they are very much talking to each other. Like, look at this podcast right now. This is both science and art. How do you separate this? There is technology as well. So this compartmentalization, division, segregation of disciplines, this is something that has kind of its day is over now. It's a converged education system that we are in. So why I was giving you this background is, you asked me, what made me do that. So information technology is a very foundational, program, and my undergrad program was actually a bachelor's in management as well and information technology as well. It drew courses from different fields, although it was the focus was information technology, but it was trying to equip students to become professionals in the IT industry, but also with managerial acumen. So it was quite quite a thing. We also had I studied communication as a part of information technology, and I grew very interested in it. Although we learn in IT a very simple process model of communication, and I was quite intrigued to see that when later on in life, when I was doing a certain project for my master's degree, I happened to meet a top executive at NABARD Bank, and he asked me, "What's your subject of study?" And I said, "I study communication." And without insistence, without any urge from my side, he actually laid out the model of communication. Oh, there is a sender, there's a receiver, there's noise, there's channel. He had also studied it, and in fact, his tale telling of that showed a certain passion and love for something he had studied. So it is similar for me. I called initially I regretted some of the the way I was being trained, in the education system. Specifically, when I went for my master's program, there was a slight difference between expectation and reality. Not that there was any compromise on quality or any compromise on rigor or compromise on the availability of the university and faculty for students, but like there is every student heads into a program with a certain expectation and a vision in their mind. So maybe it wasn't actually meeting it, point by point. But as I, grew in the game, I realized that this is actually a beautiful game. So one of my favorite sports is, in fact, it is my favorite sport, is football, and it is called the beautiful game. So communication is like that. It is a beautiful game. It's a complex interplay of strategy and tactics and passing the ball and scoring goals, team building, everything. It's a very rich fabric. So initially, some of the lack of structure which sometimes students may perceive that mass communication programs they have some lack of structure. It's like, like the typical school system, like, timeliness isn't there. We must accept it, that it isn't that clockwork as other disciplines are, because this is a creative field. You need time to develop ideas. You need time to execute them. And there is a trade-off between pressure and creativity. When there is more pressure, creativity is challenged, and it is a positive thing. So there were some dynamics which I took time to understand, but I came out with the understanding that this is the beautiful field. Communication is such a beautiful field. It is so rich, diverse, eclectic, multidisciplinary, you name it. And I am fortunate that I've landed in the right field. And it also offers, the biggest thing it offers you is creative freedom. It offers you scholarly freedom. You can pursue any idea that you like, you're passionate about, any topic that you like to read about, like to converse about. So that flexibility that it offers is just unprecedented. It is really the beautiful field.
And also getting away from the technical terms, when we talk about communication, it is much about expressing and understanding.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I second you on that. And the expression part of it, although it is not that if one is choosing to study engineering, he isn't expressing himself. If he's designing systems, or if he is if he's coding, or if he is working on a project, or maybe even inventing something, is coming up with an innovation. It's all creative expression, right? So different fields have different ways of allowing that expression to happen. Communication is like that field. It does happen to take a pause, and it pauses, and it allows you to reflect. It allows you to engage in dialogue. It allows you to influence people. It allows you to alter their opinions, their mindsets, to learn a lot, not just one way, to learn a lot. Like there is this hunger, all students have it, and that's the best part of students. They want to take everything from everywhere. When they're on the way, they just want to take everything from everywhere. They want to learn from industry, they want to learn from university, they want to be from extracurricular activities, from sports, from debating competitions. So communication is also like that.
Indeed, that is. And you also mentioned about the creative freedom.
Yes.
What interests me is when we talk about creative freedom, then mass media and communication is also in a way that requires literature.
Absolutely.
The literary aspect in a person.
Yes.
How do you perceive that literature connects us more with communication?
Oh, it is such a rich and productive topic of literature and communication. So I could quote a number of people, but I just want to quote Jordan B. Peterson, who is a psychologist. He's a YouTube personality and an internet personality now. So I happen to hear a lot of his talks and debates and lectures. So one thing that he keeps talking about is the metaphorical substrate, and he talks about literary truth. Some people call it poetic truth, right? So actually, communication and literature, the stories that we grow up with, the frameworks or the models of understanding that literature gives us on how to see human action, human behavior, social action, social behavior, emotions, morals, moral dilemmas. This kind of stuff is the real deal. Like I would love an exposition of literature when they talk about a character who has moral dilemmas, who has political dilemmas, who has relationship issues. There is a famous Indian writer and professor, Dr. Kothari. She's come up with this concept of in-betweenness. It's such a beautiful concept. It comes from literature, like the question of identity. So when we look at something as complex as identity in other fields, we don't deal with this. This seems very heavy. This seems, out of our domain. It seems out of bounds, beyond, our comfort zone. But actually, identity involves a lot of. I'm applying this idea here, in betweenness, right? Like, which side are you? Politically, also, are you left? Are you right? Are you conservative? Are you liberal? So, one tends to take some position on the spectrum, not always here or there. Like today, like there are two nations, the two nation theory, right? Two nation theory doesn't really have a concept or a scope for the in betweenness. But if we go and if we examine how people's emotions play out, definitely if we go into history and people who have roots in other nations, they want to discover their identities. And a lot of projects in films and literature has been written on this. So there is this, so literature comes up with such fantastic and rich vocabulary and concepts that can benefit mass communication, or for any field for that matter. If you are studying intercultural communication, international communication, you have to understand literature of other countries. You want to, I don't want to sound, I might be sounding somebody who's coming too much from the textbooks, but like if I give you real situations, if you go to, let's say, a foreign nation, if you engage with the literature of that nation, and you will not engage with the literature of that nation unless you have this, the passion for literature and literary works and the stories of that tradition. Although literature can be elitist at times, but it is essential to all communication.
This is where both the subjects amalgamate.
Yes.
And I would also like to quote that through literature, you understand yourself and form your perception.
Absolutely.
And through communication, you express it.
Yeah.
Isn't it right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Literature also involves, expression, but literature is a certain documented form. Like it's out there and it becomes historical artifact. It becomes the subject of discussion, debate, and learning. Communication is just free flowing. It has this free flowing form. You try and put fences around communication, and that's a project that's bound to fail. So if you look at news is always evolving. It's the events of the days, they are evolving. Global affairs are evolving. National politics is evolving. Sports is evolving. So you cannot communicate using the same model always. And it's very fast, very dynamic. I mean, if we talk about a multi-platform age in which we live, we have social media, we have messaging platforms, we have dating platforms, we have all kinds of platforms that one engages with. So much flow of communication happens. So you can't really put fences around communication. You can't tell, a application developer, don't develop a dating application. Don't develop it. Like, you can't do that, right? Because it might be literary and politically incorrect, but at the same time, it is because it gives meaning to people who are communicating or interacting, maybe in a dating context. But that communication creates the need for such an application, the need for connection, the need for human communication. Just to give you an example, which I hope this generation can relate with. So.
Indeed, it is true, sir.
Yeah.
I have observed students communicating in your class.
Yes.
In a very open manner, and what you call creative freedom.
Yes.
And the freedom to express oneself.
Absolutely.
Also, the teaching methods that you use is quite different.
Yes.
Than the methods that are specifically used in
Right.
universities.
Right.
Because your methods always transcend the syllabus that has been given to us.
Yes.
So, one question that I would like to ask you. Is there any nickname that you have got for your personality in the classroom?
Well, that is what must be popular with the students. I have never come to know what nicknames students have for me. I don't know. I have never been told, and it's quite amazing to me that although nicknames exist, somehow the separation of space is so absolute that one can never even overhear, what nickname or what call name the students are using. I don't know. Do students still have nicknames?
Yes, sir, they do.
Okay. I thought that was a thing of the past now.
That is also a fun part of communication,
Yes,
and I'm
yes,
sure that students must be having interesting nicknames for you.
yes,
For the method that you teach,
right,
sir, could you tell something about the methods, about the approach that
right,
you would like to apply if you get the freedom to?
right. So there are so many pedagogical or andragogical methods that a teacher can pursue. Um, and I have happened to be exposed to such rich stuff that, I mean, it's so difficult to capture it. But for example, you have Paulo Freire from the development communication literature, who talks about conscientization, who talks about education as empowerment, empowering subaltern identities, empowering disadvantaged people to learn how to express their human rights as the goal of teaching. You have the the great writers of the phenomenological tradition, like educational phenomenology, who talk about, instead of there being a didactic approach where there are concepts and they're expressed to students and students ask questions and teachers ask questions and like that, but he talks about the fundamental transformation that happens in the identity of both the teacher and the student through the act of teaching. It's not just the student who's being transformed, but the teacher also. And there's a phenomenological experience of that, a whole emotional landscape, which nobody talks about. And then you have Harvard Business School, who I hold very, very, very high regard for. And they have this, Harvard Business School is often criticized for its very limited use of teaching methods. I mean, this is old news. I don't know what the recent thing is, but this is old news. So some of the old school traditionalists of Harvard Business School, they say, so today we have a lot of things, like we have data journalism, or we teach with data, whether it's managers or journalists. You have data, and you learn how to manipulate and work with data, find interesting stories, trends, patterns in data. That's a big thing about the professional workspace. And now you have AI and how AI can be used to manipulate that. So there is a lot of innovation. But Harvard Business School says, so they were asked that, what are you doing? Every course, every topic, every subject, you bring up a story of a different company. So where is the syllabus in all of this? Like, it's just changing. Every year you have different companies up for discussion. You're writing cases on different companies. You bring that to the classroom. So although, I mean, it's difficult to talk about it in detail in the short time that we have, but they say that it is not what we teach. How we teach is what we teach, not what we teach. So the method of teaching itself, the method of structuring cognition, that aspect of it, how you can use these subtle methods to basically make for a participant-centered learning and not a teacher-centered learning, right? How can you co-create classes uh, using participation from both students and the faculty or the professor or the teacher. So this is a very transformative method where the faculty takes the role of a facilitator, and whereas it is the students who construct the body of knowledge on a given situation in class in real time. So there is such a wide plethora of teaching methods that are there that it just fascinates the mind, and you can go on talking about it without a minute's pause. So that's
I
about
just
it.
realized that research is fascinating to you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So all of the students, they are also going to do some research work ahead in
Yes,
their journey.
yes, yes, yes.
How do you take research?
Mm-hmm.
Any of the points that you would like students to remember when
Mm.
they do research in their life?
So research is done for different purposes at different points in time, with different motivations. So one research that students often do is, like, what we would say is employment research, right? Or educational opportunity hunting. You can give it many names, but that is purely to secure their future and their careers. That's why you want to do research on, okay, what are the courses I should study? What are the online courses? What are MOOC courses? What are AI courses? So that kind of research, right? A journalist, if you are a mass communication student, a journalist does research to have absolute command over knowledge from different sources on a particular topic, so that while reporting or while interviewing, while hosting a debate program or a prime time program, he can use that body of knowledge. It's always accessible. It's like a library. Like you're actually accumulating the entire library into you, right? From ancient times to modern history, politics, economy, business, inside news, outside news, everything. And this is still a very limited perspective. So there is this wide field of research that journalists seem to do. So that is another kind of research that you might want to do. That means you are studying a topic in great depth and detail, capturing the widest range of documents and authors and writers available on this. Then there is this other kind of, the third kind of research, which is academic research. And also an applied research is also a close sister or ally of academic research, which is like asking basic questions about the world, about society, about the self, about human communication, about economic theories. So it's basically knowledge building, contributing new knowledge. So for example, if I want to give you an example, a very layman example, like we are doing a podcast right now. So an academic research perspective about the podcast will ask, how is podcasting changing society? What are the ways? How is culture adapting to, or let's say, how is the mass media system, how is it adapting to the frequency and the variety of podcasts that we have? These are fundamental questions. These are not questions that will directly profit, but of course they have, that knowledge has to be useful to someone. But building very fundamental knowledge about things that we see, we encounter, whether it is communities, whether it is media texts, whether it is the news, whether it is ads, whether it is films, just asking very fundamental questions about them. And of course, always referring to what has been researched earlier. So it's not very fundamental actually in practice. It's always, you're always picking up questions that others have not answered satisfactorily so far, or if you feel that you can actually challenge an answer that might have been given earlier, right? So that is academic research. So I remember a friend of mine in college, in university, during my master's program. He came up with this article from a rather inaccessible and, it was new to me, a journal where he talked about a linguist and a sort of an anthropologist also, Dan Everett, who was doing this research for a long time among Amazon tribes, and he was trying to challenge the thesis or the hypothesis that there is a universal grammar, that there is, all languages have a grammar, it has a structure. And he was trying to challenge this by studying the language of those tribals and actually getting or kind of finding that there are actually instances where the general structure that is followed in language, these people didn't seem to share that. So he was challenging the thesis, the idea that there is a universal grammar among languages. So this is fascinating academic research. These are some big ideas, right? I might want to mention to students, although we shouldn't, there are a lot of thinkers, a lot of people, specifically in the postmodern liberal arts that we have today, including mass communication, talk about the work of Foucault. So Michel Foucault is a very interesting theoretician. He has theories on a range of different things. If you go and actually engage with his work, it's not that you have to agree with, it's not about agree, disagree like journalism debate. You develop a critical approach to seeing where knowledge is on a given topic and use certain methods. So it's not method free. You have to use certain methods to explore further or challenge what has already been found or expand the work, extend knowledge, right? So this is the fascinating field of academic research, and as a part of it is also applied research, when companies or governments or ministries actually commission research for you. They ask you to do a population study, find out, okay, what is the adoption of sanitary pads, how is rural India adopting sanitary pads and construction of toilets, and what are the problems, what are the issues, what is the percentage, you can quantify all of that. So this is applied research. So there's so much in research that you have a whole lifetime to explore it.
I remembered when you said employment research.
Yes.
So before the end of the podcast, I
Uh-huh.
want to ask you this last question.
Yes.
You have been associated and actively participating in many of the government organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So how can a student avail opportunity towards it?
Um, yes, I mean, today the government is producing opportunities for um, the citizens or the population like never before. I'm saying opportunities, right? I'm not commenting on any other aspect. For example, I'm not necessarily commenting on the availability of funds or other aspects of it, but the sheer diversity of opportunities. If there is a student who wants to, of course, like one is the traditional path that you sit for the civil services exams and you crack them and you become a part of the bureaucracy, the executive. You can become a part of that. It's an aspiration and dream that has been valued since so many decades. So it still holds true, and some people believe. But even if you want to collaborate with the government, or if you're part of the corporate setup and you want to be in a public-private project, and the complexity of it is actually a learning experience. Difficulties in different systems, government systems and private systems. Sometimes there might be a struggle because work cultures are different. These are assumptions, but these are things that have happened in the past. So there are so many different opportunities. Like, for example, if you're a filmmaker, so there are several units of the Ministry of Information Broadcasting where you can do meaningful work. You can get empaneled, and there's so many things and there are many more platforms that from my knowledge, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology are coming up with, where students with a mass communication degree and a pedigree in communication and arts, media arts, can actually find work. You could do government projects. So that is there. Not to discourage people from appearing for the Indian Information Services and getting selected and becoming an officer and then being posted to one of the media units of the government, or there are each ministry has a public relations setup, and public sector organizations have PR departments and corporate communication departments, so you can find work there as well. So there is a whole lot of work to be in the government sector also. This is a very limited and a slightly, I must confess, slightly outdated understanding. There are, as we speak, opportunities are coming up. Like, for example, there's this Bharat Mandapam waste festival that happened, and the sheer number of domains and divisions that they had created under one platform was really, really, they were engaging with people from so many different fields in that one thing, right?
Thank you, sir, for this conversation.
Yes.
I hope that students benefit out of this
Yes.
and the knowledge that you have to offer.
Thank you very much, Metli. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'm sorry if this sounded like a lecture, but I think I again stepped into that role.
Yes.
And I might have compromised on our conversational, fluency in getting into that lecture mode.
So this podcast with Assistant Professor Girija Shankar Semuwal comes to an end. I hope you liked it, and stay tuned for the other podcast in the series of Know Your Faculty. Like the podcast, subscribe it, and also follow us in our Instagram channel. Link is down in the description box. Bye bye.